Ethan was 23, a struggling college student with a thin frame and tired eyes that told stories of sleepless nights spent juggling books, part-time jobs, and the quiet ache of poverty. His classmates went to cafes, wore polished shoes, and laughed freely about weekend trips. Ethan, on the other hand, walked to school in the same worn-out sneakers he'd had since high school. He carried not just the weight of his textbooks, but also the burden of knowing that his mother was sick, his rent was late, and the future he dreamed of, becoming a teacher, was slipping farther and farther away. One evening, as he sat in the dim university library, the fluorescent lights buzzing softly above him, Ethan noticed a woman. She was unlike anyone else there, older, with silver hair tied neatly back, dressed in an elegant coat that whispered of wealth and sophistication. Yet there was something profoundly lonely in her eyes, as if she carried memories that no one else wanted to hold. Her name was Margaret. She was 71 years old, a woman who had once been the life of grand ballrooms, the face of magazines, and the heir to a fortune that others could only dream of. But wealth had not protected her from loneliness. Her husband had passed a decade earlier, her only daughter estranged, and the walls of her grand estate echoed with silence. She came to the library not for books, but for the simple comfort of being around life, voices, and youth. Their paths crossed when Ethan accidentally dropped his notebook at her table. She picked it up gently, scanning the notes filled with mathematical formulas and scribbled motivational quotes he wrote to himself. "Don't give up. Mom's counting on you." Something in those words pierced Margaret's heart. She asked him about his studies, and he, hesitant at first, found himself telling her more than he ever told anyone. His struggles, his hunger, his fear of failing. Margaret listened, really listened. And in that moment, something fragile and unexpected bloomed. A connection between two souls who were both, in their own way, invisible to the world. Days turned into weeks. She began inviting Ethan for tea after his classes, introducing him to the warmth of a home that felt nothing like the cold dorm he returned to every night. He carried her groceries, fixed small things around the house, and she insisted on paying him, though he tried to refuse. Their conversations grew deeper, about love, about regrets, about dreams deferred and dreams still waiting to be born. Then, one day, Margaret asked something that left him stunned. She wanted to marry him. At first, Ethan thought it was a joke, some cruel trick of fate. But she was serious. She explained softly, "I don't need romance. I don't need a husband in the way people think. What I need is someone who sees me, someone who is here, so that when I go, I won't go alone. And Ethan, I want to leave you everything. You deserve a chance at life." Confusion, shame, and hope all tangled inside him. He was poor, desperate. And yet, he didn't want to be seen as someone marrying for money. But then he thought of his mother, her medical bills, the nights he went hungry so she wouldn't. He thought of how the world had cornered him, how every job application turned into rejection. Slowly, with trembling hands and a heavy heart, he said yes. The marriage was quiet. Just the two of them at a courthouse, with no family watching, no music playing. Margaret smiled faintly as they exchanged vows, her frail hand squeezing his, and Ethan whispered a silent prayer that he wasn't making the biggest mistake of his life. For the first 7 days, nothing felt real. He walked through her mansion like a ghost, unable to understand how he, who once counted coins for instant noodles, was now living in a house with chandeliers and grand pianos. He treated Margaret with respect, cooking her meals, listening to her stories, and making her laugh in ways she hadn't in years. For the first time in decades, she felt young again, and for the first time in his life, Ethan felt needed. But on the 7th day, Ethan woke up to something that shattered him. He found Margaret in the garden, sitting on a wooden bench, staring into the distance. Beside her was a thick envelope, sealed, with his name written in trembling cursive. Her hands shook as she gave it to him. Inside was not money, not jewelry, not documents of inheritance. It was a stack of letters, over 50 of them, each written to him in the past few weeks, but never delivered. In those letters she poured out truths she never said aloud: her fear of dying alone, her guilt for not reconciling with her daughter, and her gratitude for Ethan, who gave her 7 days of genuine companionship that no amount of wealth could buy. At the very bottom was the last letter, dated that morning. It read, "Ethan, by the time you read this, I may be gone. But please don't cry for me. I married you not to give you my wealth, but to give you freedom. The house, the accounts, they are yours now. Use them not to escape who you are, but to become who you dream to be. Promise me you will teach, you will love, and you will live a life worth remembering. You gave me 7 days of happiness. I want to give you a lifetime in return." Ethan broke down, clutching the letters to his chest, as he realized Margaret had passed quietly in her sleep that morning. The house was silent again, but this time not empty. Her presence was everywhere, in every hallway, in every memory she left him with. He kept his promise. Ethan used her fortune not to live lavishly, but to build schools for children who grew up like him. Hungry, invisible, and forgotten. At every ribbon-cutting ceremony, he told the story of a silver-haired woman who once sat alone in a library and changed his life forever. And though she was gone, Ethan often returned to that wooden bench in the garden, where he would sit in silence, as if Margaret were still there, smiling softly, telling him she was proud. Because in truth, she had given him more than money. She had given him kindness, purpose, and a legacy of love that would ripple far beyond 7 days. If you believe in the power of kindness, love, and unexpected connections that change lives, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary love stories are not about romance, but about humanity. Like and subscribe my channel.